In the dry, sun-scorched land of the Sahel, where days are long and the heat feels endless, there stands a tree unlike any other. It is the Baobab, a massive tree with a thick, twisted trunk that has lived for thousands of years. The people of the village of Timbao believe the Baobab is sacred, a place where the spirits of their ancestors rest. Its roots dig deep into the earth, and its branches stretch high into the sky, as if connecting the heavens and the earth. The village of Timbao had been suffering for many months. There had been no rain and the land was dry and cracked. The wells were empty and the crops had withered away. The people were hungry and worried. They looked up at the sky every day, hoping for rain, but the clouds never came. In this village lived a young woman named Aminata. She was a griot, a storyteller who kept the history of her people alive. Aminata loved telling stories, especially those that her grandmother, Maimuna, had taught her. Maimuna was old and wise, and she knew the ancient ways and the stories of the ancestors. One day, Aminata sat with her grandmother in their small hut, practicing her stories. Maimuna listened quietly, but then said something strange. "You are a talented griot, my child. But there are stories that you do not yet know, stories that are hidden, waiting for the right time to be told." Aminata was curious. "What do you mean, grandmother? What stories?" Maimuna sighed and looked out of the window, her face filled with worry. "There is a story about our family, about something that happened long ago. It is a painful story, but one day you will have to tell it." The village of Timbao was in trouble. The sun burned hot every day, and the villagers were thirsty and desperate. They walked to the well with their buckets, but there was no water to draw. The ground was dry and cracked. The crops in the fields had turned brown and shriveled, and the animals grew weak. There had been no rain for a very long time, and the people didn't know what to do. The village elders spoke of rituals that were once performed to ask the spirits for rain. These rituals had been forgotten with time, but the elders believed that only the spirits could help now. Aminata thought about these stories as she walked through the village. She had heard whispers about the ancient Baobab tree and how it was the resting place of the ancestors. Some said that the tree held secrets, that it was alive with the spirits of the past. One evening, as the sun was setting, casting long shadows over the dry land, Aminata decided to visit the Baobab tree. She had a strange feeling, a pull toward the tree, as if something was calling her. The Baobab tree stood tall and quiet at the edge of the village. Its massive roots spread out like the fingers of a giant, and its bark was rough and ancient. As Aminata approached, she noticed something she had never seen before. There were carvings in the bark, old symbols that seemed to be hidden beneath the layers of the tree's skin. Aminata reached out and traced the carvings with her fingers. The air around her seemed to change. A soft wind began to blow, and the leaves rustled as if whispering. Aminata remembered a song her grandmother used to hum in her sleep, a strange, haunting tune. Without thinking, Aminata began to hum the tune as she touched the tree. The wind picked up, swirling around her, and the ground beneath her feet trembled. Aminata felt her heart race, and just as she was about to pull away, a voice spoke. "You have awakened me, child of Timbao." Aminata jumped back, her eyes wide with fear. Before her, a figure began to rise from the base of the Baobab tree. It was the spirit of Baba, the keeper of secrets. He was tall and glowing with a soft, warm light. His eyes were like embers and his voice was deep and powerful. "You have summoned me, and now the spirits are listening," Baba said. "Your village suffers, and you seek rain. But the ancestors demand a price. There is a truth buried in your family's past, and only when it is revealed will the rains return." Aminata was shaking. She didn't know what to say. "A truth in my family's past?" she asked. Baba nodded. "Yes, child. Your family betrayed the spirits long ago. To mend what was broken, you must find the truth. Only then will the rains fall again." Aminata returned home, her heart pounding. She had never seen a spirit before, and now she had to find out what secret her family had been hiding. She ran to her grandmother, who was sitting quietly by the fire. "Grandmother," Aminata said breathlessly, "I spoke to Baba. He said our family betrayed the spirits. What is he talking about? What secret have you been keeping?" Maimuna's face darkened and she lowered her eyes. For a moment she said nothing, but then she began to speak, her voice trembling. "It is true," Maimuna said. "Many years ago, your great-grandfather was a greedy man. He turned his back on the spirits and abandoned the rituals that kept the village in harmony with the land. He sought riches and power, and because of his actions, the spirits cursed our family. The rain stopped, and the land began to dry." Aminata felt a deep sadness in her heart. "Why didn't you tell me this before?" she asked. Maimuna sighed. "I was ashamed. Our family's greed brought this curse upon the village, and I hoped that by staying silent, the spirits would forgive us in time. But it seems the time for silence is over." Aminata knew what she had to do. The spirits demanded a sacrifice, and it was her family's greed that had brought the drought. That night, as the sky grew dark, Aminata went back to the baobab tree. She carried with her a bracelet, a family heirloom that had once belonged to her great-grandfather. It was a symbol of the wealth he had gained through betrayal. She stood before the tree, the wind blowing softly around her. The sky was heavy with dark clouds, but no rain had fallen yet. Aminata knelt at the base of the baobab and placed the bracelet on the ground as an offering. She began to chant the ancient words that Baba had whispered to her, words she barely understood but felt in her heart. The wind picked up and thunder rumbled in the distance. Suddenly, a flash of lightning struck the baobab. The spirit of Baba appeared once more. His glowing eyes looked down at Aminata, and for the first time he smiled. "You have done well, child of Timbu," Baba said. "The spirits are pleased with your sacrifice. The rains will return." As Baba disappeared into the night, the first drops of rain began to fall. Slowly at first, then faster, until the dry earth was soaked with life-giving water. Aminata stood up, her face wet with rain and tears of relief. She had saved her village by facing the truth and honoring the spirits of her ancestors. The drought was over. The village of Timbu celebrated as the rain brought new life to the land. Crops began to grow, and the wells filled with fresh water. The people danced in the rain, their hearts full of joy and gratitude. Aminata stood beneath the baobab tree, looking up at its towering branches. She knew that she had not only saved her village but had also restored the balance between her people and the spirits. The baobab tree, the keeper of secrets, would stand for generations to come, a reminder that the truth must always be faced, no matter how painful it may be. And so the story of Aminata, the young griot, became a new legend in the village of Timbu, a story of sacrifice, truth, and the power of the spirits that lived within